Hey guys, today we are going to be talking about seedlings that you can be starting indoors under lights during the month of March. Let's get started. Hey guys, Rick here from Stony Acres Gardening. Welcome to my channel. Make sure you get subscribed and click that notification bell so you get noticed every time I release new videos. Also, love to have you go join us over on Instagram as well, so make sure you follow us there. Okay, so like I said, today we are going to be talking about seedlings that you can be starting indoors during the month of March. This video is intended mainly for those of you that live in zones 5, 6, and 7, but more important than your garden zone is your frost date, okay? So this video is intended for people who have a frost date from about April 20th through the end of May, okay? If your last frost date falls within that time frame, this is the video for you. And we're going to talk about both cool season and warm season plants that we can be starting indoors during the month of March. That will then be transplanted out into our garden later on in the season as the warmer weather starts to approach. So let's get started first with the cool season crops. And your priority, no matter what zone you're in or when your frost date is, if you haven't already started your Brassica family, so this is some broccoli starts, if you haven't already started your Brassica family plants, you need to get after that right away, because we actually want these to go out in the garden a few weeks before our last frost date. So Brassica family, which includes broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, and kohlrabi, are all very hardy, frost tolerant. They'll stand up to a little bit of snow. As long as we don't have temperatures that are down in the low 20s Fahrenheit, these are going to be fine. And so we actually want to get them outdoors before our last frost date so that they have the opportunity to grow and mature during that cool season. And so we really need to get a jump on those. So if you haven't already started your Brassica family plants, get them going now. Now, the next class of plants that we can be starting indoors are our leafy greens. And here I've got a tray with some lettuce starts that I have going. And the leafy greens are a little bit more flexible. And in fact, you could probably start some indoors at the beginning of March, maybe even the middle of March, and then again later in the month of March, because that would give you a nice succession planting of plants that are different ages to go out in your garden. And again, all of the leafy greens are very frost hardy and very frost tolerant. They're going to stand up to a little bit of snow. It's okay. And so we can actually get those out. Once the snow is melted in our garden and things are starting to warm up in April, we'll be able to put those plants out. So you can start all of those leafy greens anytime during the month of March. So this family includes lettuce, spinach, kale, collards, arugula, Swiss chard, and then all of the Asian greens. So things like bok choy, tot soy, and Napa cabbage. All of those can be started pretty much any time during the month of March, and multiple times even during the month of March, indoors under lights to go out later on in April and early May, okay? Then there are a few other plants as well that you can still be starting indoors, and again, you'll be transplanting those out, sometime in April or early May. And this would include things like bunching onions. So we're getting a little bit late in the year to do bulbing onions indoors, but bunching onions, we don't have to worry about that growth and the time as much. We're just growing those for green onions, and so you've still got plenty of time to do bunching onions indoors. Other things that you could be starting, there are a few cool season herbs that you could be starting now, so things like cilantro and parsley and even chives, all of those, you could get those started pretty much any time during the month of March to set out before your last frost date. And then if you are someone that likes to grow your peas indoors, then now is the time to get started with those as well. Remember that peas actually do really well planted directly out in the garden, so you don't have to start them indoors. But if you would like to and you've got the space, then you definitely could. The one recommendation that I would give you with peas is to choose a container that's a good size so that you don't have to pot up. We don't want to be disturbing the roots of those peas. They don't like being potted up all that much. And so choose a container that they can grow pretty decent size in without being potted up, okay? And those you're gonna wanna try and give about 4 to maybe 6 weeks indoors. And you could start those, again, pretty much any time during the month of March to transplant out later in April, okay? So those are all of our cool season crops that you can be starting, and again, get those brassicas in early. Everything else, kind of pretty much any time during the month of March, you can get those started. Now, if your frost date, again, lands between about April 20th and the end of May, you'll notice that we are starting to get pretty close to that frost date. For me, our last frost date is May 15th. That means I'm less than 10 weeks away from my last frost date. So it's time to also start thinking about some of our longer growing warm season crops, the ones that are going to take a little bit longer to get established and grow indoors. You can also get those started during the month of March, but you've got to do a little calculation on those. We want to start things like tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, what else is on there? And then all of the warm season herbs, so things like basil, oregano, thyme, sage, rosemary, dill, all of those. We want to start those somewhere between 6 to 8 weeks before our last frost date. We want them to be, a good solid 6 weeks to maybe even 8 weeks old, especially with peppers. You want those to be at least 8 weeks old, about the time our last frost happens, okay? So for me, my last frost date is May 15th. I will be getting my peppers, my tomatoes, my herbs, all of those things started about March 15th. 8 weeks before my last frost date. So there's definitely warm season crops as well that you are going to be starting during the month of March. Now, things like squashes, beans, we're a little bit too far away on those because those don't take as long. They don't need to be inside as long. So those are probably going to be things that we're going to start indoors in April. But tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, and all of those warm season herbs, you definitely want to get started 8 weeks before that last frost date, okay? All right, that is all I have for the indoor seeds that you should be starting during the month of March. Now, I'm also going to be doing a separate video on things that you can be planting outside directly in the garden. I know that sounds crazy because if your garden is like mine right now, I've got 6 inches of snow in my garden. But as soon as that snow melts and the soil starts to warm up and dry out a little bit, there's actually quite a few things that you can get planted directly by seed out in the garden. And so I'm going to do a separate video on that. That will come a couple of days after this video. And once I publish that video, I'll put a link for that right up here so that you can go check that one out as well. Okay? All right, please make sure you get subscribed to my channel. Go follow us over on Instagram as well. We've got a lot of fun stuff planned for the summer on Instagram, and I'd love to have you join us there. Also, I'd love it if you would come and check out our Gardening Academy. So the Gardening Academy is our monthly subscription service. It's a great way to support our channel here at Stony Acres Gardening. And right now we are offering a free 14-day trial for those of you that would like to check out the Gardening Academy and see what it's all about. So there's a link down in the description of this video that you can click on. That will take you over and you can sign up for 14 days for free and see what it is that we're doing over there that's so much fun, because there's a lot of good stuff happening there. Okay, that's all I have for you for this week. Everybody have a fantastic week. Happy gardening.